Do you feel like every time you make a payment to your health or life insurance policy, you're making a payment to the multi-billion-dollar industry and feeling like you've been totally smacked down? Wrestling reference, SmackDown. Anyway, there are better options. Deal with an independent broker, someone who does the shopping just for you. Timmy Hudson has been in the business for 4 years, and he is certified for health, Medicare, life, and hell, even annuities. Give Timmy Hudson a call at 770-361-8271. Once again, 770-361-8271. There's only two things in life that are guaranteed. One, that Timmy Hudson will treat you just like family, no matter if you need health, Medicare, life, or even annuities. And that Alex G's and David Fine's Retro Wrestling look back at Starrcade 87 Chi-Town Heat begins now. Welcome in to Retro Wrestling Rewind, episode number 13. As always, I am one half of the greatest, we are the fourth greatest podcast in the history of podcasts. As always, I am former ring announcer David M.D. Chandler, or actually David Fine. I always forget my gimmick name, David Fine. Alex G, how in the hell are you doing tonight, man?
Better than most people, I assume.
I know. I mean, if anybody didn't know, we were up for a top newcomer in the Wrestling Podcast Awards, and unfortunately, I mean, hey, you can't.
Unfortunately, we came in fourth.
Oh, I mean, yeah, we
came in fourth. We're only 13 episodes in. I think that's pretty good for our first time out.
Yeah.
And, we had a lot of stiff competition, and, we'll be there next year again.
Hey, we'll be there next year. We will not be for the best newcomer. We'll be for the best podcast of the year, because best podcast of all time. They had the Pritchard Show. They had the Jericho podcast. They had a bunch of. Yeah, who's this Chris Jericho? Anyway,
never heard of him.
I've never heard of them. But hey, we are the fourth best podcast in the history of podcasts this year. Hey, folks, like I said, you can't win everything. I am super happy. I mean, I was listening to it last night, or on it aired on Sunday night. Sorry. And there was some delay in it. I was like, what the hell's going on? And then it finally came up, and I was super disappointed, but that's okay. We can't get them all. We're going to be at
quick shout out to our friends over at WrestleHub. So make sure you go and check out their YouTube channel.
Yeah.
They do good stuff.
And they also have a new, they're having a new, awards up for, I think, best, like something about the year in wrestling. You just have to go to the wrestling.
If it was best looking podcaster, I would have won. So.
Hey, folks, if you you
can get those dirty underwears on Patreon.
Hey, here's
that's the $150 tier.
Yeah, well, here's a tease. Okay, if you wanna see what we actually look like, I know you probably want to do that and get those underwear in person. Maybe get them signed. We are going to be at WrestleCon in 2019 in New York, New Jersey. It's going to be at the Midtown Hilton in Midtown Manhattan. We haven't confirmed which booth we're going to be in, but we are going to be there somewhere in the Hilton. They were not going to be able to get rid of us. We're staying there. So
I'm going to be at the bar next to Mean Gene Okerlund, so come check us out.
I mean, it's going to be great. We're going to have other stuff. We're going to have stuff on our Twitter page at the RW Rewind. Already got somebody from Texas coming in for WrestleMania and for WrestleCon. He's going to hang out with us. He's trying to get the rate at the Hilton. It's selling out, folks. So if you want to get the premium price at a great hotel, and you can hang out with us, you can hang out with all the other legends and celebrities. It's at WrestleCon.com. Just click on ticket purchases and hotel purchases. It's going to be a great time. It's my first ever time to WrestleCon. I've been to WrestleMania, and
not for nothing. Since I've been to a WrestleCon before, since I've been to Fan Access, and I've been to, I say, quite a bit wrestling autograph signings and conventions. Maybe on Patreon we can go through my top 10 tips of navigating your way through WrestleMania weekend.
Hey, if you want to know that, you have to go onto our Patreon page.
You got to pay me, pal.
You got to pay me. You got to pay me, pal. And I mean, that also may come with that top tier comes with that. It comes with that signed pair of underwear, correct?
It does, with doo-doo stains and all.
If you want to know you want to get on those tiers, if you want to get those top 10, I call them hacks to WrestleMania, WrestleCon weekend, just go on to patreon.com/retro wrestling rewinders. It's all one word. You can sign up. You can sign up for the $1 tier. I don't know who the hell would just sign up for the $1. Then we have the $5 tier, which of course we have Rodney West. He was our first ever Patreon. We did a show about the current product. That's on patreon.com/retro wrestling rewinders. We have another level where you can be the Western States, the TV champion, can be the national champion, and of course, the granddaddy of them all, the Retro Wrestling World Champion. I think that's one of those things that everybody should sign up for. I mean, it's an exclusive club. We only have
You get to join us on the show. You pick a topic that you want to talk about. You want to pick a obnoxious event like Blackjack Brawl. You want to talk a little XPW? We can do that.
If you want to talk about ECW and about how on the network they take out all the really good music, I mean, it's just.
Hey, listen, I have them all with the original music. Thank you, RF Video.
Oh man! But getting back to our current topic, we're talking about Starrcade '87 Chi-Town Heat. Of course, it was in Chicago, Chi-Town Heat. Before we go on to the show, and
I have friends that live in Chicago. They love it over there. It's a great city. It's a great NWA town. But when you take Starrcade out of the Mid-Atlantic area, when you take Starrcade out of Atlanta, it leaves a lot to be desired here. They had good penetration in terms of television over there, and I believe they were on WGN at the time. And their syndicated show was pretty strong. Unfortunately, for them, it did not draw. And then you had the WWF, who literally cut their balls off, and they weren't able to get on many cable systems for pay-per-views. So issues there.
And going back,
this is the pay-per-view. If everything happens that could possibly go wrong, it happened in and around this show.
But
it was snake bitten from the start.
It's kind of like one of those things that the Starrcades, they're known for being like in the North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, the Georgia area,
or Ohio if you want to be the WWE and be a jerk about it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like the pay-per-view that they had on the network recently, the Starrcade. It was a pre-taped event. And they only showed like 2 matches and like 3 segments.
I have friends that live in Ohio, the Ohio area, and they will be the first one to say that Ohio sucks.
I mean, I've never been to Ohio, but I'll take their words for it. What were your overall thoughts before we go on to talk about each match on the show? What was your overall feeling and
this show is fucked. This show is fucked for numerous reasons. Skywalker's 2? What? A scaffold match again? Come on, Dusty. You gotta do better than that. When you take the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express, who I think anyone who's in their right mind would consider 2 out of the top 5 tag teams at the time, maybe top 2 in some people's books, and you're gonna put them on a scaffold match where they can't even work? Are you insane? I understand about the Road Warriors crap. That makes sense to me. But you don't have the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express on a scaffold? At the very least, put them in a goddamn cage. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think the only thing that saved this event was
Jim. My dog is going crazy for no reason. What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
Your dog doesn't even like Starrcade '87 Chi-Town Heat.
Why you acting? What's wrong with you? Go to sleep or something.
I don't. I mean, it's like kids, dogs. I don't know.
I love my dog. My dog is awesome. He's the man. But he's very, very excited right now. He's very excited that I'm doing this show.
Oh, I mean, is he excited about the shit show that Missy Hyatt was on this program? Holy crap! They just kind of like oddly threw it back to her, and she said like 2 words that made her sound.
She was much better. When we talk about Super Bowl 2, this is much better Super Bowl 2 than here.
Yeah, but let's kind of get on to the shit show.
Wait. We got to talk about the UWF. The UWF invasion or lack thereof.
The Universal Wrestling Federation.
Former Mid-South Wrestling, right? Crockett buys Mid-South, starts integrating some of their talent, and you would think that the main event for Starrcade would be Ric Flair taking on Dr. Death Steve Williams in a unification match. Does not happen. Why are you on drugs, Dust?
It does not.
Why?
It does not happen. It's.
No,
I mean,
no, why? And I understand that Flair, right? Flair did not like the UWF guys, right? But in terms of the promotion, Crockett wasn't at war at Mid South. They were allies with Mid South. They did shows together. They did the Crockett Cup from the Superdome. It wasn't like they were bringing in WWF guys. There wasn't like having Vince McMahon show up on the show. So, treat these guys with at least a little bit of respect. I understand that, you want to have Ron Garvin win the belt. I guess. Awesome. Nice job. We all love Ronnie. I love Ronnie. But for Flair to win it back at Starrcade makes no sense. How are you going to have the heel go over in this one? It doesn't make any sense. It don't make no sense.
You know what? This whole show didn't make any sense. But
crack.
But I mean, the first match: Eddie Gilbert, Larry Zbyszko, Rick Steiner with, I would say, not the perfect 10 anymore. Baby Doll. Anyway.
I still love Baby Doll.
You also love Big Mama, who you say you.
I'm still trying to steal Baby Doll away from Sam Houston.
Well, I'm sure you probably.
Maybe when she's at WrestleCon, maybe I can finally make that happen.
Hey, well, and as you say, the rumor and innuendo is that the handsome one, Jimmy Valiant's going to be at WrestleCon.
He'll be there.
And hopefully, Baby Doll will be there. I mean, not Baby Doll. Big Mama will be there.
Big Mama.
Woman
of the streets.
And a woman under the sheets, and they took on Jimmy Garvin, the purely sexy one, Michael P.S. Hayes. And
not Freebirds, by the way. This is not Jimmy Garvin, the Freebirds.
And a young Sting. They were, of course, along with the beautiful and lovely Precious.
We all love Precious.
And I don't understand this match. I did a time limit draw match when I was a ring announcer back in the day, and it's just a terrible match. It was a 15-minute time limit draw.
I don't remember what happened here because I remember Hot Stuff International, right? Eddie Gilbert, Rick Steiner, Sting, right, with Missy Hyatt, right? Yeah. They were a unit. And then I guess somewhere on the TV, which I must have missed, I guess Sting turns babyface.
Yeah, I mean, because he
starts hanging out with the Freebirds, or one Freebird and Jimmy Garvin at this time.
I mean, I heard he said he wanted to sing, and Michael Hayes was trying to teach him. But what were your thoughts? I mean, what do you? That and I heard rumor and innuendo that a lot of the referees that they had to use were, I guess, in the Chicago territory. So it wasn't a lot of the, at least in the first couple of matches, it wasn't the normal Earl
commission referees.
Yeah, it wasn't like Earl Hebner and the great Tommy Young. But
Young is awesome.
He is awesome. Hopefully, he'll be at WrestleCon. I know he doesn't. I know he doesn't make many appearances anymore. But this match, there's not much to talk about. It's like they.
No, it's a 15-minute draw. I mean, I guess it's not even necessarily a showcase for Sting, although you would want to showcase Sting because I think you could tell really early on that he was going to be the future.
Yeah.
And, you have Eddie Gilbert, you have the Zbyszko who's around. And you have Rick Steiner, who is awesome.
Yeah, and folks, just if you didn't know, currently Rick Steiner is on the Board of Education in Cherokee County, Georgia. So he went from being a wrestler to educating your kids. So hey, anything's possible, kids, if you're listening to this. And then Sting, I'm not sure how many years he was in the business. This is 87. He was a couple years in.
I think he started at 85.
Yeah, so he was a young Sting, but and Eddie Gilbert, God, he was so good. And Larry Zbyszko is just a nice guy, and like you said, he will talk your ear off.
He will literally engage in a conversation with you for 45 minutes at an autograph signing while there's people online. He's not there.
Yeah, he's like, fuck it. He's like, you're paying me. Hey, if you don't want to listen to this, leave. It's like, but going on to the next match, we were talking about the UWF title.
And the second match on the card.
They call it the world, not the world title. I don't know, they refer to many things. Steve Dr. Death Williams, the champion, defeated Barry Windham. It was kind of a babyface versus a babyface. I mean, they were supposed to be friends. Barry Windham, he didn't really do anything, dirty, and he could have taken advantage of some stuff that happened, but he was a nice guy. What were your thoughts on this match?
I mean, again, Steve Williams probably should have made event with Flair here.
This was in the second match of the goddamn show.
I know.
I don't understand this.
Or at the very least, in the Garvin spot, probably should have been Windham, but I heard rumors that Windham didn't want the spot, and the same thing with Ricky Morton. they're gonna put the belt on Morton at this time.
Wait. Okay, this is we're
That's what
playing.
Ricky says. I
We're
don't know if
playing.
it's true.
We're playing. Well, if this is true, could you imagine a world? This is like an alternate universe where fucking Ricky Morton is the world heavyweight champion. I know he could carry the.
Well, how about this? 1987. Would you ever expect Shawn Michaels to be the world heavyweight champion?
No,
Yeah.
but not after watching some of his early shit in the AWA, which didn't have long hair, and I think he spelled his name different. It was I want to kind of go back and do maybe do a Patreon show or do a show here on the Rewind, normal show where like Rick Rude spelled his name differently in Mid South. I think it was
like how Ric Flair, they always spelled his name wrong. Like if we're gonna look back and when they unveiled the new NWA World Title, the big gold belt, and you look at the nameplate and it's Rick but spelled R-I-C-K. It's awesome.
And
It's awesome.
and as the person that works in TV and listening to other podcasts, specifically the What Happens When with Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson, Tony always talks about how the TV product was shit, and I like to go back and kind of watch how they fuck up. It's just, it's just
weird because Turner, was a TV company. It made no sense.
Yeah, it made no sense. But
like they really got like the fourth stringers.
Yeah,
for WCW.
Are you surprised that they put this match, the second match, because didn't
here's the deal.
Crockett bought the UWF?
I'm gonna wrap up the UWF in a nutshell.
Okay.
Right? First and foremost, right? They didn't need to buy the UWF. They got tricked by Jim Ross, right, to buy the UWF.
What?
He claimed that Vince was going to buy it, right? So of course Jimmy Crockett's like, no, don't let Vince buy it. I'll buy it, right? He didn't need to buy it. He could have just let the UWF go out of business and then took over their syndication network anyway, right? Brought in whatever talent that was available off of it because they didn't get everyone. So when they bought the UWF, they didn't get Ted DiBiase. He went to WWF. He didn't get no Jim Duggan. Jim Duggan went to WWF.
Tough guy.
So it wasn't like they picked up guys. Like they picked up, Steve Williams. They picked up. I don't know if they picked up Michael Hayes. They probably did. Eddie Gilbert. They picked up. Sting. They picked up. Terry Taylor. They picked up. Right.
Yeah.
For the most part, that's who they picked up. So why are you spending money on buying promotion? Number one, they didn't get the tape library. Right. All they got was a syndication network and a couple of wrestlers. Let them go out of fucking business, and then just pick up the guys when they're free agents.
Yeah,
it made no sense.
Yeah,
it made no fucking sense.
It made. And speaking of things that make any sense,
here's the problem.
Okay.
If you're going to do that, then don't even mention the UWF. Why even mention it? I understand, right? So here's the scam. There's a scam attached to this, right? So Crockett wanted TV in New York, right? They wanted to go on WPIX. The Turner system did not want them to go on WPIX because WPIX is a competitor to the Superstation, right? So the way they got around that is the UWF was on WPIX in New York. So that's why they kept the branding around for a while. But I would have killed the branding outright. Like, fuck the belts, fuck the UWF. You bring in whatever guys you got and you integrate them as per normal. Like, if you're going to do this, if this is what you're going to do with it, then you just kill it dead the moment you bought it. They got their syndication network, right? Fine, whatever, cool. But to do this in terms of a booking perspective made no fucking sense. I think it's worse than the WCW invasion.
You really think it's worse than that?
Yeah.
Well, that's
because the main crux of why the WCW invasion was bad is because they did not pick up any of the top talent because they're under those kind of ironclad, really expensive Turner contracts, right? So like, okay, we're gonna wait for Sting and Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, yada yada yada. They have to wait for their contracts to expire because when they were offering guys buyouts, they were giving them pennies on the dollar. Some guys took it, Booker T took it, DDP took it, yada yada. They took it.
Yeah,
but your big players, Flair, they didn't take the fucking deal. So you had this invasion with the mid card. Yeah, you did turn Austin and put him on WCW's side, for Christ's sakes. So that's why it failed. This is just bad booking.
Yeah, it's terrible booking. Speaking of bad booking, another show we got to cover is the first Nitro that your buddy and Eric Bischoff were the I guess they were the former, when they took over WCW. You know what I'm talking about, right? Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff, that whole crap.
I don't know who Vince Russo is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you could have.
I know a guy named Vic Venom. He used to write a column and he used to have a radio show in New York. I know that guy.
Anyway, speaking of matches that they should not have done again, I mean, this is the year after what was arguably a really good match, Skywalker's the first one. They had the Rock and Roll Express, of course, against the Midnight Express, Stan Lane, Bobby Eaton, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, and Skywalker's
This had the potential to be a 5-star match on the show that desperately needed a 5-star match. And nope, we're just going to put him on a scaffold.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and then of course, then they had Big Bubba Rogers, kind of hurt Ricky Morton, so it had Robert Gibson up there by himself with Stan Lane, Bobby Eaton. I mean, it was a shit. It was terrible. I mean, they didn't even build the whole. They didn't like the last, in '86. It was the Night of the Skywalkers. This wasn't even. It was just thrown in there. It's kind of like the PN News. Steve Austin.
I mean, it's better than that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's not many matches that are. Well, there are.
That's up there. But...
I mean, it's terrible. I mean, we're gonna kind of go past that. I mean, it was.
Hey, do you know what was also the on pay-per-view the same night?
The Survivor Series.
Survivor Series, motherfuckers.
Hey, if you want to know our opinion on that, you have to subscribe to Patreon because we're gonna have a whole kit and caboodle about why Vince did that, why Jim Crockett. It's kind of a clash of the champions. And but that's patreon.com/retro wrestling rewinders. Just type it in, subscribe, become a patron. Maybe able to meet us and get an exclusive t-shirt that we'll all be wearing at WrestleCon 2019 up in the old great city of New York. That's coming up in April of next year. We'll talk about that more on the show later on. Next match, of course, I forgot that even had the TV title. Nikita Koloff, Terry Taylor, a unification match for the NWA and UWF
Why is
TV
Nikita Koloff in the main event?
Because he has to unify the TV title with the world's greatest wrestler, Terry
sake.
Taylor. I mean, Terry Taylor's worse than Sam fucking Houston.
No, he's not worse. That's not true. Give the guy some credit.
He's the Red Rooster.
All right. Okay, who's better? Better or worse? Terry Taylor or the Z-Man?
The Z-Man.
No, get the fuck out of here. Now you're just making shit up.
No,
the Z-Man or Z-Man, as Terry Funk would call him,
the Z-Man
is not better than fucking Terry Taylor. Terry Taylor in the UWF was fucking awesome. Right?
Hey,
he became the Red Rooster and it kind of sidetracked his career. But he had good stuff after that. I liked him as a tailor-made man. That was pretty good.
You like him in the York Foundation?
Yeah, I do.
Boy, Alexandra York. Whew, she was. Anyway, I think that was. I think it was Dusty's. I think it was Dusty's idea for that whole Alexandra York thing. That's just the computer. They picked the match.
That made sense. I liked it. That was pretty. When they did that, I found that interesting. And the computer give them Terry Taylor will defeat, whoever the fuck, Norman the Lunatic, in 6 minutes and 36 seconds, and he would have to do it.
Yeah, but the thing I don't understand about this match, Nikita Koloff, he won, unified the titles. That's whatever. And then they interview him later on, and he is it me or does he say the same Russian phrases every time?
Well, yeah, I mean, he doesn't know Russian.
Yeah, he doesn't. He obviously doesn't know Russian, but it's just I don't know where you got. I would love to know. I would love to have somebody, and if anybody's listening and they can translate it, what Nikita Koloff actually said.
I think it's just fucking gibberish.
It's probably just gibberish, but just tweet us at the RW Rewind. And hey, folks, the first person that can actually figure out what the hell he said, hey, gets a free T-shirt. Sounds like a great contest, and we're gonna verify it. We're not gonna be like, oh, he said gibberish. He probably did say gibberish, but this is a real.
This match went fucking long as fuck too. Fucking almost 19 minutes on this match.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand.
Sake.
I wish it had gone to a time limit draw, but that'd have been great.
I wish they didn't have the match.
I mean, would you rather them have this match and then not have the Skywalkers, or would you rather have?
No, because the whole card is fucked. So you could have done other shit. Like first of all, You know what's a better match? Nikita Koloff versus Eddie Gilbert's a better match.
You,
I think.
you know what would have been a better match? Sam Houston versus Terry Taylor.
Sam Houston's a WWF at this point.
I mean, hey, it's a fantasy booking. He may be at WrestleCon if he's out of jail, but that's okay. The next match, huh?
He's never getting out of jail.
Well, hopefully not. And if he does, hopefully he doesn't listen to this podcast in jail, because I think they probably listen to podcasts in jail. Actually, that'd be cool if he did. The next match was for the NWA World Tag Team Championship.
You know who didn't win here? The Road Warriors.
They thought they won, but they had
Dusty finished them. What the fuck was that?
Then they had that over the top rule. Was that the Bill Watts era?
For fuck's sake, no. They've always had that rule until like the Nitro era. Like it was always there, and it was always a cheap way for the champion to retain its title. But on a fucking Starrcade, just put the Warriors over for fucking Christ's sakes.
Yeah, I mean it was. Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard with the world's greatest manager, I think, James J. Dillon, defeated the Road Warriors Animal and Hawk with Precious, Paul Ellering, in 13 minutes, 27 seconds. I mean,
it was a fun match. It's good enough. It's fucking Anderson and Blanchard, who may be, the third on the list, the third team on their show that might be in the top 5 tag teams of quite possibly of all time, but definitely of this era.
And what year, I should know this, but what year did they go to the WWF to be the Brainbusters? Was that 80?
That's right after Crockett sold the Turner.
Okay, so it was a couple years afterwards.
Yeah, about a year.
Yeah,
about a year. They came in like late '88 or late '89.
Yeah, and it was a good match. I mean, and speaking of a Booker's finish, Dusty Rhodes defeated the Total Package Lex Luger inside a steel cage. They said it was his career on the line, which I don't understand. It was for 90 days.
He came back as the Midnight Rider anyway. But you think the reason why he had Flair go over in the main event is because in his mind is like the fans went home happy. I won.
Yeah, I think, but it was a. I'm one of those things. It's like
Luger, Dusty's on a decline, right? Dusty's on a decline, right? Luger's on a, he's coming up, right?
Yeah.
Why can't you just have Luger beat him?
I don't know. I mean, because he's Dusty Rhodes, he's a fucking booker. I mean, he of course.
Woods, I get it. I get it. But if Luger is going to be one of your guys of the future, right?
Yeah.
You know this.
Yeah.
Right? We all understand this. You're paying him all that money. One of the first guaranteed contracts, what have you, right? He's making a boatload of money.
Yeah.
Fucking just put him fucking over. Oh, how big would it have been for Lex Luger to beat Dusty Rhodes at this time?
It would have been huge, but
it wouldn't affect Dusty.
No, I mean the one thing I
would have elevated Luger.
Yeah, I mean I think that's true. I mean I want to get your opinion. Like some of these shows, and I've seen in the past.
Here's the problem with Dusty, right?
Yeah.
Dusty booked like it was 1975 Florida, and 1987 in terms of a national promotion.
Yeah.
He had good ideas. He would have a good A, B, C, but then when he got to D and E, the shit falls apart.
Yeah, I mean you have to have a whole.
I'm still waiting for the pictures in the fucking envelope that Baby Doll had. Never seen those.
Maybe one day we'll see it. But it's one of those things. It's like I'm not sure if they did it back then, but like I've heard stuff current product where they have one finish that they're going to do, but then they decided that kind of do the old switcheroo and it changes up the finish. I mean, you think Dusty was always going to go over?
I don't think so. I mean, at this point, I think Dusty. I think he won. He figured just by having Luger be in the ring with him would elevate him enough.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because I guess it's Dusty. It's the way he thinks, right?
Yeah. And
that's just the way it is. Dusty Rhodes is the type of guy that thinks that, you know what, not for nothing, I could be world champion, but I think being Dusty Rhodes is more important than being the world champion.
Yeah.
Like I totally hear him saying that. And in some cases, at some times, that's true. At this time, it is not. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's neither here nor there. It's 1987. That was, many, many moons ago. So it's,
Yeah, but they're going national. This people talking about pay per view. It's a big deal. You gotta elevate these new guys, and they did not do that.
yeah. And speaking of guys that should not have had the world title, Ronnie Garvin.
Flair thinks he deserved it. Flair says we made a good choice. Ronnie was a good champion. He was over in the Carolinas.
Yeah, was he only over in the Carolinas? If he went somewhere else,
Exactly the point. He was only over in the Carolinas. He was also mismanaged in terms of being booked. Like for some reason, Dusty just let him off. Like he didn't defend the championship. He had no notable title defenses. Dusty would just leave him off the cards for some reason. I have no idea why he would do that. He
and
just did it.
and now they call that the Brock Lesnar. So
Yeah.
I mean, what were your thoughts on this match? It went 17 minutes 38 seconds. Flair defeated Ronnie Garvin for the NWA.
Can I ask you a question? What was the reaction of the crowd when Flair won?
Yeah. I mean, what were you? Well, I can't remember. I mean, I watched it, but I wasn't
I'm
really.
telling you, it wasn't a heel reaction though.
No, it was not. I mean, yeah,
It was
because he
not a
was.
heel reaction.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like. I mean, I kind of compare it to nowadays Becky Lynch. They want her to be a heel, but the fans are still going to cheer her. So it's like Flair. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think if he's a heel, they're going to be people that are going to cheer him, and people.
It all depends on who he's up against.
Yeah.
So like, if he's going against Dusty, they're going to cheer Dusty.
Yeah.
But if you put Flair in the ring with someone who's less over than him, it doesn't matter if they're babyface or heel. Flair's always going to get cheered over them anyway. So you only put Flair in situations where the person is as over as he is. Because if he's not, the fans are going to go to Flair anyway. And that's what happens a lot. Like you see, like we want to talk about the king of mixed reactions. We talk about John Cena. We talk about Roman Reigns. Go back and watch Flair. Like there's very few matches, right, where he's like getting booed out of the building. That shit did not fucking happen.
Yeah, I mean it was.
And especially you go to towns like you go to a town like Philly, and he's getting the biggest babyface reaction out of everyone. God forbid you do a show in the Carolinas that she's automatically being cheered.
Yeah, I mean
He was being cheered over Dusty in the Carolinas.
Yeah, I mean it was.
That's why they had to have those matches in Atlanta.
Yeah, because I mean, Dusty's he's gonna get freaking cheered in Atlanta. So I mean, and Flair, of course, because I mean it's. I mean, I think it happens nowadays. I mean, if like
You know what I would have done? I would have brought in Kerry Von Erich here. That's what I would have done.
Yeah, but they didn't. So I mean,
I understand that, but for fuck's sake, there's things that could have been done instead of doing what they did. They had options. They chose not to exercise those options.
They did not.
And now we look back and be like, man, what the fuck?
Yeah, they did not exercise those options, and I mean. But I mean, what we were overall, I mean, after going through everything, I mean,
the show's not bad. I mean, yeah, we're ragging on it a little bit because the wrestling is fine.
The booking is just terrible.
It just the booking is terrible.
Yeah, it's,
this is the first, like, I don't want to say the first. I had a couple of situations, but when you take this and then you take the Bunkhouse Stampede and shit starts going sideways, you can see why they're out of business by the next year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, but I mean, anything you want? Oh, how? I mean, it shouldn't have slipped my mind. But folks, if you have not listened to Alex G's Retro Wrestling Games YouTube channel, you need to. I mean, it's very addictive. I was just watching a lot of them today. In my spare time that I had some free time just to put on the headphones and listen to it and watch it. How can people listen to and watch your retro wrestling video games?
You want to go to Retro Wrestling Games on YouTube, right? It's the first thing that comes up, right? We have over 1,500 subscribers at this point. So, join the club. And what we do there is that we take a look at some of the retro games. We do give you a little insight, do a little review, and then we kind of, we talk about wrestling. And then we have other shows like the NWA 1984 project where we take a look at, the NWA wrestling as a whole in 1984. and beyond, because we pivot, right? I like the word pivot. We pivot to modern wrestling. We pivot to other things that I may have seen that particular week, and we just have an interesting conversation while you're seeing me kind of rebook the entire year of 1984. And in addition, we have Spaceplex Vintage Game Room, which we take a look at some of the greatest arcade games of all times. We recently just did one on the Spider-Man arcade game. We talked about Spider-Man for a little bit in the Marvel Universe, so that was a lot of fun. So be on the lookout. So check those out. Those are really cool. Make sure you hit the like button, you subscribe, and leave a comment.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth looking into. And of course, if you want to, if for some strange reason, which I mean, I know people get addicted, if you want to see a YouTube version of what you're hearing now, just go to YouTube, type in the keyword "The Retro Wrestling Rewind," not Retro Wrestling Rewind. It's the. There's only one the. There are some other Retro Wrestling Rewinds, but there's only
they usually have shows with Japanese wrestling.
There's only one the Retro Wrestling Rewind. Type it in the old search bar. It'll pop up. We have all of our episodes are up there. It's one of those things that it's an Alex G production. He puts all the pictures and stuff together. I send in the audio. It's brilliant. But of course, if you want to also follow us on Twitter, it's the RW Rewind. On Twitter, it's on retrowrestlingrewind.com is our website. And of course, if you want to be a Patreon, I mean, folks, there's so much crap coming up on Patreon. I can't even tell you.
There's a lot of stuff.
We have a lot of stuff coming up, and especially you definitely want to become a rewinder before April of next year, before we go to WrestleCon, because we're gonna do something spectacular, because we're gonna be there all weekend. Alex is going to be there from Thursday to Sunday. I'm going to be there Friday. I'm going to be there Friday to Monday. We're going to have a fucking good time. I mean, it's New York City, the Big Apple. You don't sleep. You just party like it's 1985 again. It's going to be awesome. Just go to patreon.com/retro wrestling rewinders. You can sign up for any of the tiers, the $1 tier, the $5 tier, the $25 tier, the $50 tier. It's whatever you sign up for, you get something back for your money. But for the great Alex G, as always, I am David Fine. Thanks for tuning in to Starrcade 87 Chi-Town Heat Recap. Next week on Retro Wrestling Rewind, we cover Alex G's pick of Super Brawl 2. What are your thoughts on that as we end the broadcast today?
I want to leave you with this. Holy fucking shit, Lex Luger is huge.
He's huge. He's huge. We're going to leave it on that. We'll see you back here next week for episode number 14 of Retro Wrestling Rewind.